All right, so let's just give everyone another minute or two, and then we'll get started here, guys. Jay, man, always good to see you. Craig, good to see you too there, brother. Crypto Sunrise. Dad, I see you there. Hannah. Mother Hen. What about Mother Hen? I don't know. Mother Hen's there.
Yes, he is.
Hello, Martin. Where's Cosmic Red? That's a good question. I don't know where Cosmic Red is, Jay, man. Right, okay, well, Ben, have you got recording going on there? We can always get started and just throw the recording up, yeah?
Yeah, we're fine to continue.
Okay, awesome, guys. So, guys, yeah, just quickly, I know there was quite a few questions there about the previous harvest and all that, so we wanted to get Simon up here, have a chat with you guys, let you know what's going on pretty much here behind the scenes. Sorry, my dog might bark there. I'm just looking at it. There's someone through the gate, so excuse me if my dog does give a bark. So just a quick update there from behind the scenes here, guys. Sorry, guys. Sorry, just give me 1 second. Let me just get my dog in there because my dog's about to go berserk. I've got another dog walking past. Come on, get inside. Sorry, guys. I apologize for this. Right. So just a quick update. I mean, our first harvest went through. I think that the rewards have already gone out for those. So that's the one there. Of course, everyone had a couple of questions now about the Kryptonaires harvest. So I'll let Simon jump in a minute or two to. I see Cosmic Red's there. How's it, Cosmic? So I'll let Simon jump in a little bit about the Kryptonaires one. We just wanted to give a little bit of an update as well towards the Thai market, because quite a few things have happened. I'm sure you guys have seen the elections that have happened. I'll let Simon elaborate as well a little bit more about the elections, and what that means for us going forward. At the moment, it's not bad news, but, it's just always something to be aware of what's going on politically in the world. Simon, do you want to maybe first just quickly jump in there with Kryptonaires batch, and then from there we'll go over to the questions?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So, we're obviously on the last container now for the Kryptonaires one. So, it's almost ready to complete the harvest, which we'll be doing hopefully this week. I think some of the people saw Kyle in there on the video last week. Obviously we're now going to finish the final harvest for the NFT lot. And then it'll go into drying and curing. But obviously, when we do harvest it, now we have a good idea of, when we cut the plants in there, as soon as we cut them and we've got their wet weights, then we know roughly what the dry weights are going to end up at. So, as we say, we want to try to get everybody finalised and everything tidied up by the end of this month. And then, as we said before, get people's payments out.
Awesome. And I know there was a few questions there where some people were saying that that we only showed one of the containers for Kryptonaires batch. Well, there's a bit of a reason for that one. And that's because 3 of those containers have already been harvested. I think it's just the last one right now that's busy waiting to be harvested. Is that right, Simon?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. And you'll see on the video, and I'm sure Kyle will come this week and we can do some more video and maybe explain a little bit more. But yeah, we've got, I think it's pool 3, container 4 is the last one. And most of the other, all of the other containers obviously have now been done, but I know there was a question of one of the units. I think it was pool 3, container 2. I can't remember the exact number. Obviously that's got plants in at the moment. And the reason for that, I think, it's in one of the questions, which we'll answer later as well. But obviously, we've been in the construction phase, which has come to an end of the main containers. But during the last sort of 6 months, obviously space has been tight. And obviously we've got lots of clones, lots of plants that we're running out of room. So we have been using various areas for multiple tasks and temporary storage. So what we'll do is when Kyle comes, those plants that are in, I think, pool 3, container 2, they're actually going into pool 1, container 1. So next week when we start moving all the plants, we'll take the video and show them being moved into their new final resting home. So so that's
next week. Tomorrow, you mean? I mean, Carl's popping over tomorrow, I think.
Yeah, but those plants won't be moved until next week. So I mean, we can do it. Yeah, we'll do the video obviously tomorrow and do some updates. But those plants there will be moved into C1, pool 1, container 1 at the end of the month. Then.
Okay, awesome. So so I think that you've hit the nail on the head there. So let's maybe get started with a couple of questions. So one question there from Dak, for example, was why are the containers sitting there collecting dust while awaiting seedling? Time is money in this business, and if we want a chance to hit 3 to 4 harvests this year, we need to be harvesting, drying, seeding ASAP. So why are we waiting to stagger the containers?
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, as I say, the thing is, at our site, we've actually, the NFT is only a small part of the site. We've got 30 units in total, so we've got other 20 containers that we're also dealing with. And I mean, the NFTs, we planted them all at the same time, trying to do 7 to 11 containers harvesting at the same time is not practical. So, I mean, going forward, we had to make the decision that, we need to stagger future harvests. So, as of June the 1st, that's when we'll be starting to replant all the units, and then every week fill another unit, and another unit. And yes, it's not the best situation. I mean, I think, again, later on in some of the answers, in hindsight, maybe we should have built the facility first, get everything ready, and then start. But obviously that would have taken us twice as long. So, we tried to do the construction and plant at the same time. We now need to get back on track, stagger the harvest. So, yes, there'll be a slight delay, but once we do that, going forward, I mean, we'll be able to get to that perpetual harvest in the future. So, once we start the replanting schedule, once we eventually start harvesting, we should then at least be able to have a container being harvested every week. So that's where we need to get to.
Awesome. I know we spoke about this last time. Do you think maybe you and me, we can sit down this week and get that schedule of harvest that we can put out there for the NFT holders, that they can have a rough idea, like when each harvest will be expected, like more or less? I mean, obviously it's not down to a science of the exact date, but just to give them an idea.
Yeah, we've got, tomorrow, again, when Kyle and that comes, and I can send it over to you. So, yeah, we have got our proposed schedule where, obviously, on the schedule it shows every 3 months cycle and a 4th month for drying. But, obviously some containers may have a slight week longer, some might have a slight week shorter, but at least it gives you an idea of, the planting and the harvesting schedule over the next, going forward over the future months.
Oh, yeah, that would be awesome. What's the target's weight for this year? So basically now we've reached the first harvest. Mm-hmm. Do we have an idea of the current target weight that we're trying to achieve?
Yeah, I mean, this is the thing, we've learned obviously a lot in the last 6 months of indoor farming and how things are calculated, and, different countries and different grows classify, weights and plant yields differently. I mean, what we're looking at is, over the course of the year, in each unit, if we get the three harvests, then we're looking at, to achieve the 30 to 40 kilos per annum. And that's based on, getting sort of if we can achieve it, 1 gram per watt of light, or around 800 grams a square meter, based on the light. Each light is 1 square meter, and we've got 16 in each unit. So sort of 16 square meters of grow space. So that, and based on, if you, look at other farms and how they work out their yields, then that will be, obviously a realistic figure, 30 to 40 kilos per year.
So per harvest, so what, we're looking between about 8 and 15 kilograms per harvest, depending on the strain and all that, of course.
Yeah, I mean, if you base it on the 1 gram a watt or the 800 per square meter, then that'll take you up to sort of, if we're on 700 watts, it would take us up to sort of 10, 11 kilos. If we can get it, obviously up to 860 watts, then that pushes it up to 13 kilos. obviously 8 kilos is on the low side, and of course our first harvest we had lots of issues. We made some mistakes for sure, but going forward, and I think realistic harvests are going to be anything from 10 to 13 on each unit. So I think that's realistic for sure.
Okay, awesome. And then you said before that you'll be focusing on the highest performing strains. Could you give us a quick breakdown? I know it changes all the time, but like at the moment, what are these? Which strains are performing the best? And are you busy planting those strains at the moment?
Yeah, I mean, we're some of the strains that we used in the past were very slow growers and not great yield. So we are dropping those. I mean, stuff like Do-si-do, 91 octane, quite a few vanilla ice, runts muffin. They're all getting good yields, and so we're just really trying to focus on. We'll probably reduce the amount of strains we have, and we'll have I would say our core range, which is the most strains that we'll be selling to dispensaries. Plus, I mean, as the market is changing in Thailand, what's happening now is a lot of the dispensaries, whereas before they were saying, we want 1-2 kilos of the same strain every month. That's the whole market has changed. So now what's happening is a lot of the stores, they just want a smaller amount and they want very unique strains. I mean, the competition is heating up, and what's happening is if you suddenly release, for example, I don't know, Mandarin cookies, if everybody then gets Mandarin cookies, then what will happen is the dispensaries start wanting to drop those strains. So then you've got to constantly have new strains and new names out there. I know it might be crazy compared to some countries, but certainly in Thailand at the moment, people want the unique names. It seems to be all about the names at the moment. So we will definitely focus on some core strains, maybe bring that down to sort of 12, 15 core strains, and then also have some unique strains on each harvest as well, just so we can offer sort of an exclusive strain each time as well.
That's awesome. I know there was one question here about better communication, transparency, and accountability. So, I mean, I'll just quickly grab that one. I mean, guys, I just want you guys to know one thing is that Simon does not come from a crypto background. And, I mean, it's not much of an excuse. So, and I'm going to take that on the chin as well a little bit from my side, is that we failed on one point was to convey to Simon the necessity and the importance and the being very transparent and open with the community. So from our side, we could have definitely pushed harder. It's not excuses. I mean, like I said, I'm taking this one on the chin. Simon wasn't or isn't very well versed when it comes to community and Discord and crypto. So, for example, like when we were asking for some information, he might not have felt that it was extremely necessary to put that information out in a timely manner. So I mean, when it comes, we agree with you guys 100%. I mean, transparency, accountability, all that is absolutely important in this space. And, I mean, we heard you guys loud and clear. I mean, that's why we've got, Kyle that's going over once a week. He's doing the live video feeds with you guys, or the recorded video feeds. It's going to be doing a strain of the week, taking you guys for a walkthrough on that. When it comes to accountability, I mean, we do have an agreement with Simon in place. So, for example, all sales and all that that goes out to dispensaries and that kind of stuff, Simon will make those invoices and receipts available to us, the NFT company. Of course, there's certain things we can't share, but we have had a discussion with Simon where he is agreeable to it. Like, for example, if we blur out the names of the companies that he's going to, because I mean, the one thing that you guys need to understand as well is that Simon is running a company. So what I mean by that is that if he doesn't particularly want his competitors to know how much he's selling what for. So it's a very, very slippery slope. If he releases too much information, it could then actually harm him as a company. So we need to find, and we're still working on this from our side, we need to find a way that we can do it, that we can show transparency towards the community, but also in such a way that we don't harm Fox Farms in terms of the market and how they, and how they're selling their products. So we're working on it. We'll come up with a plan on that. However, us at the NFT company, we will be provided with that information. So let us come back to you guys with a solution on that. We're trying to find a way that we can be transparent on it. But again, like I say, without actually harming our partner. So it's a bit of a tricky one, and we'll get back to you guys on that one. And I think that also that responds to the question there of seeing the receipts of the sold products as soon as the deal is done. Again, us as the NFT company will be able to see that, but we just need to find a way how we can convey that on to you guys. Simon, why did the master growers leave, and what's being done to prevent the current ones from also leaving?
Yeah, well, I mean, in the last few months, there's been lots of changes in Thailand with master growers and with lots of different farms. I mean, in terms of the previous growers, we had different directions we were going in. So we all decided to go our own ways and focus on what we really wanted to do. So, obviously they've moved on and doing their own things. The new master growers, we've got 2 new master growers here. What we're also now starting, we've actually got some other master growers coming in as consultants. Because as I say, what's happening, the whole market has changed. I mean, 4 or 5 months ago, master growers were huge in demand, and people needed them and were fighting for them. What's happening now is a lot of farms, they've got their Thai staff come in, they've got their SOPs in place, they've got the procedures in place. And the whole industry is calming down a little bit, and the demand for new master growers coming over is not as high. And some of the master growers here are doing the right thing. They're going around more as consultants and consultancy on different farms, giving advice and getting the best of both worlds. So I mean, in terms of going forward, I mean we've got our SOPs in place now. We've got our procedures there. Obviously, we've got our in-house master growers, which are Christian from Germany. We've got who's Thai-American. We've got some other consultants who are from the US. And yeah, going forward, I mean, I think we realise we need to be, how would you say, self-sufficient. We need to have our own internal knowledge. We need to be, not relying on anybody. And whether we do that through appointing consultants, making sure all our procedures and everything's in place, we'll do that. But, that's what we have to do going forward for sure.
Okay, awesome. Thanks, Simon. And then a question quickly from Hobo. Most of the issues that you're facing seem like they're manpower issues. Do you have enough personnel to manage the size farm that you currently have, and what's being done to ensure that these delays don't continue?
Yeah, I mean, manpower is not really the issue. I mean, the first harvest, I mean, the main issues we had there, as we said earlier, is trying to grow and do construction at the same time was probably a mistake. As I say, we should have built the place and then started farming. But I mean, in terms of running the facility, I mean, we've got our full-time staff. We've got around 8 full-time staff at the facility, another 4 or 5 which are part-time. And that's plenty to handle it on a day-to-day basis. And then when it comes to, the larger tasks like harvesting plants or trimming or moving a large number of plants, I mean, we've got access to, an abundance of manual labor. I mean, what Thailand, not just from cannabis, I mean, in any industry here, I mean, the one thing about Thailand is finding skilled labor in some of the more remote locations is difficult. But, our core team are, as I say, good enough to manage the facility. And then when we do need labor, we've got access to, plenty of people out there who can come and do the physical work of moving plants and assisting in harvest. So it's not really the manpower that was the issue in the past. So that definitely won't be an issue going forward in terms of manpower.
Okay, sure. And then another one from Hobo here. So harvest 1 took about 7 months from the ETA, was roughly 3 to 4. And then the harvest paid approximately 5 5.6 thousand Thai baht per NFT when the expected was around 24-ish. So that's basically a 25% of the drop of it. So I just want to see what is. So what's being done to right the ship? So what's being done that we're not going to have such a low yield again on a harvest?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think, again, on that point, it really goes back to some of the previous questions and same answer. I mean, yes, it took 7 months, but don't forget that was from building a farm from scratch. So it took 7 months to get to where we are now, but in that time we've built an entire facility with 30 containers, prim rooms, dry rooms, store rooms, curing rooms, equipped the whole place. So yes, it took us 7 months, which I think is quite quick to get a facility up and running. Out of that time, obviously the NFTs were one of the most of the first units. So we were focusing on getting them ready and then building around them. And again, as the previous answer, really, trying to grow in a construction zone and having workers in and out, having construction happening. You've got epoxy resin being poured on floors, you've got welding and everything else going on. We had lots of issues, so that certainly slowed us down. But now, as I say, the infrastructure's finished. So the last remaining containers are there. They're now being fitted out. Obviously, they're the last. Nothing to do with the NFT guys, but that's the other units. And this is why going forward we now want to do this staggered harvest, get everything back on track, so we don't have these issues anymore. But certainly, we learned a lot from the last 6 months, and the next 6 months will definitely be a huge improvement. And I mean, again, we've been involved in, several other farms. Obviously we work with other farms. We supply equipment, and I know several places, obviously who started same time, if not before us, and they're only now starting their planting. They've obviously been building for 4 or 5 months and now starting the planting process. But yeah, going forward, that won't happen again.
Okay, awesome. And then let me quickly have a look. Yeah, I think you answered this one already, but I'll just quickly jump in again. I'm just going down the list here. Yeah. Why was the video of one of the pool 3 rooms just growing baby plants, and another said it was 2 weeks away? So I think this is the one where the 3 containers have already been harvested, and you were using that one for extra space.
Yeah, that's it. And I think this week when Kyle comes, we'll do that and show people what it is. Because the last container to be harvested is pool 3 C4, which is the one that we said was 2 weeks away, and then the one obviously where the plants are in at the moment, pool 3 C2, I think it is. They're in there temporarily, and as I say, the end of this week. Come the end of the month, they'll all be moved into their last home, which is pool 1, container 1. So, and again, we'll obviously do the video when we're moving all those, so you can see where the plants are coming from and going to. So yeah, it was just a case we needed space, and every inch of space is crucial.
Awesome. Some of the rooms in the video are mega wide. They look wider than the planned container rooms. Are these just repurposed factory rooms that have become combined containers?
No, I mean, if you look at, some of the past photos, you'll see all those rooms being constructed. And what they are is, if there's, as I say, on the farm, we've divided it up into 8 zones, and each zone consists of 3, 4, or 5 containers. No, actually 3, 4. So I don't think there's any zones with 5. So each zone has got 3 to 4 containers, and in some of those areas, like some of the bigger rooms, we've just left out the middle walls. So where the containers sit next to each other, we've left out the middle walls to make them wider rooms. So again, we'll do maybe another video covering that. But where you see, for example, I think it's pool 1, containers 2, 3, and 4, they're actually all next to each other with all the middle walls removed. So you can, it's one big room rather than 3 smaller individual rooms on that. Okay,
I'm just going to quickly read a question here from the chat from IRH before I go down the list again. So he's unversed in cannabis growing. But he's asking, is a month for drying the norm, or is it possible for that to be made short in the future? So, for example, 3 months for the grow and 1 month for drying was mentioned in the AMA.
Yeah, I mean, again, I mean, the norm for drying is normally 3 to 4 weeks. I mean, depending, where you look and different farms. But I mean, I would say drying time, depending on strain, depending on bud size, depending on several different factors, will range from 2 weeks to 4 weeks maximum. I mean, normally it wouldn't take longer than that. And then really after that, you've then got the curing time. So once it's dried, obviously you then trim it. And then once it's trimmed, then it'll go into curing. And then again, you want to cure it in a curing room for another 7 to 10 days if you really want the best. So, I mean, I think that's normal. There are technology. We were talking to one of the guys who's got this, I think it's called cryo curing or something like that. But I mean, it's a new technology out there with fancy machines that can really bring down the drying and curing time. I mean, I don't think that's something we're going to be able to have yet, but who knows in the future. But for sure, at the moment, drying time is going to be between 3 weeks, maximum 4 weeks, and then curing time 7 to 10 days. And obviously, just on that, I mean, and that's, obviously in between those times, you've also got the actual trimming. So, when you're drying the plants, they're hung up in the drying room. They're still on the stems. Obviously, all the sugar leaves and everything are still on there. So once it's dried, it then goes into the trimming, and then obviously through a trimming machines or hand trimmed, which will be another couple of days. But yeah, I mean, that's pretty normal.
I see another question here I think this was from Hobo. Hobo's asking, so I'm just quickly just rephrase it a little bit. Were all the containers planted for all the pools? So basically, he wants to be certain that every single container, all 11 containers, were actually fully planted.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yep.
Because he said that maybe like if they weren't all fully planted, but I think that'll come down to the next question. If they weren't all fully planted, that would explain maybe why there was a little bit or quite a big discrepancy in the weight or in the yield. But I think you'll be able to answer that with the next question. So I'll jump onto the next question, which will maybe answer this question, where it was asked, what problems with pests did you have and what remedies have you taken for those?
Was this still part of Hobo's question? Sorry, I'm just looking on the list.
Well, that's the next question, but I think it kind of leads into why there was a bit of a lower yield, a bit of a lower yield.
Yeah, I mean, it's like every farm. I mean, the biggest pests that, obviously most farms you're going to have, thrips, mites. The worst one obviously is spider mites. And, I mean, we've had various pests throughout the course of the growing period. And I think, the skill of the master growers and also us as a facility is to have that good pest management in place. So, I mean, we inspect the plants every couple of days. We'll go in there and, if we buy clones, in the past we started with some clones, some of those come into the facility and may have pests, so we have to sort of quarantine them. But, we're constantly spraying the plants with neem oil and other products, no chemicals. And we've introduced, we have ladybirds in some of the rooms that fight against those pests. So, yeah, I mean, we have them, or we had them, we deal with them. And that's the main thing. I mean, the one thing that a lot of the growers who are now in Thailand have come to realize is that there's a lot of pests in Thailand, or dealing with them is totally different from some other countries. I mean, one of the hard ones, or not hard, but one of the ones that you also always get in are the tiny translucent ants that can get in the units. I mean, they can get in the tiniest cracks and tiniest gaps, and although they're not pests themselves, they bring in other pests riding on them. It's like watching a video game of World of Warcraft. The ants come in and they'll carry thrips and other things. So it's just a case of having to deal with them. And again, in some countries, you can get other biological pests to control the pests. So you can buy various bugs that will eat the other bugs. But again, in Thailand, some of those are not available. So, I mean, the most common here is a ladybird. So, we do use them in the rooms, and it's just constantly keeping on top of it, making sure our facility's clean. Again, when we had the construction, obviously dust everywhere, people in and out, it was a lot harder to control. Now we can start locking down, obviously, everywhere, get all the clean rooms up and running properly. So, we'll certainly be able to eliminate the risks, which is always, obviously the biggest concern.
Awesome. And then from the original white paper where we had the 15 to 20 kilograms per harvest expected yield, obviously that's now a little bit lower, but I know you mentioned to me something about that being the plants before trimming and all that. Could you just expand on that one a little bit? Like where that little bit of a discrepancy came in.
Yeah, I mean, I think in the early days, I mean, we were looking at numbers of 200 grams a plant and things like this, and I think now we've run the facility, we've obviously worked with other farms and looked at the realistic numbers, and 200 grams a plant is okay if you've got 4 plants in a square meter, for example. So most of the indoor facilities are measuring plant yields on, as I say, either grams per square meter or square foot if you're in the US, and grams per watt of lighting. So if in a square meter we had 4 plants, we'd be up at 200 grams a plant maybe. But in a square meter, we've got 15 to 18 plants, so it brings the plant yields down. So, I mean, we're achieving, or we will achieve, around the 700-800 grams a square meter. That means obviously the plant yields are actually anything between 85 to 120 grams a plant. So, it's, how do you say, horses for courses. You can either have 4 plants a square meter and have bigger plants, or more plants, and they're not going to be as big. But the final yield is going to be, pretty much close to each other.
Awesome. And then, curious, George, I see you asked a question there. So again, like we said, and I think we said it every single time, and I know every time that people ask us, when is batch 2 coming? When are we going to start with batch 2? We always said we wanted to get batch 1 up and running and sorted 100% before we look at batch 2. And I mean, we're still that case. Up until time that we get batch 1 100% sorted and stable and finalized, that's when we'll reevaluate what we'll do with batch 2, for future NFT sales. I think that's what we've said from the beginning. We're staying consistent on that. Is we'll first make sure that everything is now done and stable, and then we'll have a look towards the future of NFT sales. I mean, it's always the responsible thing to do. There we go. Let me quickly have a look here. Gummy, how does a 1,400 USD per annum with a white paper stack with a first harvest average payout? So again, Gummy, don't forget we're working on the on that harvest that was still, on the white paper that was still between 30 to 40 kilograms per year. So that's what we're still aiming to achieve. Well, that's what Fox Farm's still aiming to achieve. So as soon as we can get those numbers out, that's where we're heading. Just to give you an answer on that one. I mean, it might not be on the harvest, but I mean, on the yearly returns, we're going to try very hard to get as close to that as possible. Important question here, Simon. How do expert growers from the US get a repeatable process wrong by 50% in a controlled environment? So basically, how did the miscalculation come in?
Well, I think, again, as we just mentioned a moment ago, I mean, it's, again, that process, when we first started, we were looking at 200 grams per plant. In reality, as I say, if we should have been working it rather than on a per plant number, and then working out 140 or 120 plants per container, those numbers were, probably erroneous for sure. I mean, what we should have done is based it on, as I say, like most indoor facilities, working on grams per square meter or grams per light, because, although the units are big, 12 by 4, there's only, 16 grow 8 grow tables with 16 lights per unit. So, if we then go to the 1 gram or 700, 800 grams per square meter, then that gives us that 30 to 40 kilos per year. Again, like I say, if we only drop the number of plants per square meter, then we can get up to the 200 grams per plant, which, we were initially looking at. But in reality, we're not having 4 plants a square meter. It's down to sort of 15 plants a square meter, which means the yields are 80 to 100 per plant and not 200 per plant. So, yeah, definitely some errors in the beginning. I don't know all the answers why. I just had at the time we based all of our decisions on what we knew at the time. Now later on down the line, we realised those were maybe wrong. We've adjusted accordingly, and going forward, I think we're on track now to achieve the numbers that we think we can.
Okay, great. And understand the security concerns on the old-time video. What happened to the snapshot weekly video footage with clear inside container identification of the NFT pools, progress tracking versus the white paper? So, I think the reply to that, if you look at Kyle's video, you can see that all the stickers are on the containers. Again, our communication was not top-notch. We're never going to say it was, we can only improve from there. But with Kyle's weekly updates, we're hoping to bring a lot more communication towards you guys, and a lot more openness in that regards. Empty containers, what's the ETA to repopulate? So, for example, hold on. So, empty containers, what's the ETA to repopulate these containers once they empty? Yeah. Now and then in the future as well.
Yeah. Well, now, as I say, now we, yes, some containers have to sit empty for longer than we want, but that's because we're playing catch up. As I say, we have got 30 units on the site, so the NFTs, are a third of the entire facility. So we have got another 20 units that we're obviously working on and still they're in progress. So yeah, to get on this perpetual harvest, which is crucial for us as a company in the future, we need to stagger the replanting. We need to space them out by a week per container. So that will then eventually, in every zone, which, as I say, as we said earlier, we'll release the schedule so people can see sort of the planting schedule, harvesting schedule. But we need to have that space between each zone. So every zone, 4 containers, and the spacing a week per container. So that will be the initial delay on this time. Going forward, in the future when we are on that perpetual harvest, in theory, to once you've harvested the container, to clean it, it's 1 day, 2 days. Once you've done your harvest, you'll go in there, obviously wash it all down, sterilize it, clean all the aircon filters out, clean all the dehums out, really get it back to spick and span again, do any repairs. So that's probably 2 days to do that. Certainly let it dry, check for any bacteria or whatever. And then in our other parts of the factory, obviously we've got our mother rooms and our clone rooms and plants ready. So in theory, turning a container around shouldn't take us longer than a week. And that's where, again, in the schedule, that's shown going forward. That's when we're fully up and running. We're up to, everything's running smoothly. Everything's in place, and that's where we're aiming at in the future. But we're always got our mother plants and clones being prepped. So it's not like we have to start from seed, from scratch, or tiny plants. By the time the container's ready, we're ready to fill it. So yeah, going forward, that's our plan anyway.
Okay, great. I'll still get that schedule from you sometime this week and then get it up for the guys. Mm-hmm. Why are we growing 9 strains in pool 3?
Yeah, well, yes, all containers. We have multiple strains in all units. It's not practical. Some people have asked me and other people, why not just have 1 strain in 1 container? Yes, that would be good, but in reality, customers don't want that. And also, when we see the market changing now, at the moment, our customers who want the cannabis, obviously, they want to know every month. They want a selection. They don't just want one strain every month and 10 kilos of it. So our containers, they want a good selection, and it might only be, say, 1 or 2 kilos of this strain, 1 or 2 of that strain. So having mixed strains in the container, I think, is definitely crucial. And going forward, we will probably reduce it a little bit, so there might not be 9, but we already know that we need to have maybe 4 or 5 strains growing, and maybe dedicate each tray. So if we've got eight grow trays, we may end up allocating 1 strain per tray. But again, it's really dictated by the market as well. We must have new strains. Smaller quantities are required now. Dispensaries just don't buy kilos of cannabis. They buy, a few 100 grams, 500 grams of one here and there. So we do really need that selection just to satisfy the customers at the end of the day.
And then a quick question here was, wouldn't it have made more sense to have lit this, instead of having the containers empty, of just letting these plants veg a week or 2 longer?
Yeah, well, they have. Sorry, how do you mean? Sorry.
No, I mean, like, for example, like a pool 1 and pool 2 that are at the moment empty when we replanted in June.
Yep.
I'm just reading a question here from Silver. So wouldn't it have made more sense to have had them veg for maybe like a week or 2 longer instead of having waited this long?
Well, that's what we are doing. I mean, in our veg room, I mean, you'll see from the video when Kyle comes, and obviously from last week, we do have our separate, clone rooms and veg rooms. So it's not like we're going to start from scratch when we start replanting, and suddenly it's going to be full of seeds. We are vegging. We've got our separate rooms at the factory where plants are vegging, and those ones that are sitting in, I think is like we said, pool 3, container 2. Yes, that's it. You can see from the size of them, they're already been vegging for a week or more, probably 2 weeks. So when they go into their final resting home, pool 1, container 1, they'll be ready to almost go into flower. They'll probably be in there just to stabilize, we don't want to stress the plants too much, but get them in there, get them comfortable in the environment, make sure everything's gone, and then it won't be long before we'll switch them over to flower mode, and then obviously they'll grow quite quickly. So, we certainly don't want to waste time, and we've got plants ready, we've got our clone rooms full, we've got our veg rooms full. It's just a case of moving them to their final home and doing them one by one. So, we do want to move as quick as possible, for sure.
Okay, great. I see just another quick question from IRH here. So is it the pool 1 and 2 containers that will be replanted at the start of June, or will it be much later, as there are 30 containers, as you mentioned? So basically, when will pool 1 and pool 2 containers be replanted?
Yeah, so as of 1st of June, we'll start the schedule again. So we'll start planting pool 1, container 1, then the following week, pool 1, container 2, pool 1, 3, pool 1, 4, and we'll start from that. So as of 1st of June, we plan to start, obviously, replanting all the NFT ones.
Okay, awesome. Cheers,
and again, as I said, we'll get Kyle when he's there, taking the video, so people can see, obviously, the plants going into the units. We've got the last one, as I say, being harvest, so people can, see what's going on.
Awesome. Super Silver has quite an important question here. So, how do you plan to navigate the new political situation? So, for example, the Move Forward Party, for those of you who don't know, the Move Forward Party have just won the elections in Thailand. They said that they want to recriminalize cannabis, but medicinal might still be okay with more regulations. Mm-hmm. So I think basically his question is, what's your plans moving forward if cannabis is only medicinal?
Well, obviously this is the big thing that everyone's been waiting for. Everyone's been waiting for the Thailand elections. There's been lots of rumors flying around. They're going to make it illegal again, and what's going to happen. And I think from seeing what's going on, and a few months ago before the election, they said 100% it was going to be illegal again. Now it looks like, or what everybody thinks it's going to be is that they will introduce it or class it as medical, which again, most people were told, several months ago, they said that what it looks like is going to be classified as medical. So every dispensary is going to need to have a doctor on site, and that's a doctor who's trained in controlled herbs, not a physician. But that person on site would then issue, people buying cannabis would need a medical card, but then that dispensary and that doctor can issue the medical card, and then people can buy it. So in theory, it's exactly the same product, but it's just classified as medical. So that's where everybody hopes it's going. I mean, if there's some news that went out today saying, but the MOU, so what it is you've got obviously the 7 parties that have now formed the coalition. They want to obviously appoint the prime minister of the new guy, the one who won the forward party. Yeah, Pitta, sorry, who I think is great. So to do that, obviously they've joined as a coalition with the 7 parties now, and I think yesterday they signed an MOU, which a memorandum of understanding, and in there it clearly mentions like all the topics they're going to discuss. And of course, one of those is cannabis. So the heading is cannabis recriminalization and relisting as a narcotic. Blah. That's the title, but that's just a talking point. So just that's the agenda. But whether they do make it criminal again or not, everyone waiting. 90%, we don't think it will. They'll class it as medical. I mean, if it did go worst case scenario. And I think, as you say, this is Super Silver's question. If they did make it illegal again, then, well, that would be the end of Fox Farms, and we'd have to look for, what we would do. Obviously, the guarantee would kick in. And us as a company, we've looked at what would we do with the units. And as we've always said, these containers, we use these for multiple purposes for our other companies with the Container Kings. I mean, we use these as classrooms, offices. We've looked at the facility, and, as a facility as a whole, we've got a great indoor cultivation facility. So if suddenly cannabis was illegal, there's the option, maybe there's other crops we can look at, mushrooms, indoor vegetables and vertical farming. We've looked at converting the whole facility to a self-storage facility. Of course, all of these things are going through our head. But I think, and people I speak to think, it's going to go the medical route. So I think we don't need to panic. I think that's the route it's going to be. And if it does, then yes, they will introduce a lot more regulations. But I think most of those regulations will be on the sellers who are then selling it to the public, and the farms. We already have to record who we sell it to, what strain. So they'll introduce more regulations, which I think will be good for all of us. So, that's what now everybody's waiting to obviously find out. And I mean, from what we've spoke to again, other investment groups, I mean, there's quite a few investors and other companies looking at Thailand market as a whole, and everybody's waiting for these final answers, because if it goes according to plan and the medical side, I think the floodgates are going to open, and there's going to be suddenly a hell of a lot more farms opening, and a huge influx of other companies who have been sitting by the sidelines just waiting and watching to see what happens.
Yeah, and I mean, also, guys, what I want to throw out there as well, is I think Ben, myself, Martin, Kyle, and other Kyle, and even Simon, when we started this project, we always wanted to try to find a way to make sure that that you guys, the community, were taken care of the best way that we could. I mean, granted, again, like I said, we weren't perfect in everything, but our intentions have always been towards your guys' side. And I mean, we are pretty much the only project that I can think of, where we've been able to manage to secure this buyback guarantee, if you like. Well, I mean, just to protect the community as much as what we can. And, and that's one thing that Simon's always been very adamant with. I mean, I was speaking to him today. What happens if tomorrow the government decided everything's illegal, and Fox Farms closes down, and and Simon said, well, I've got my commitments to you guys with the 60%, and I'll stick by it, so it's just something where we really do have your guys' interests at heart. Again, granted, our communication wasn't great. I can't pretend it wasn't. There are a few reasons and facts behind that. I think one of the facts that I mentioned earlier, was Simon not really understanding the community and the Discord and the crypto community as much as what he does now. I can tell you guys, there's been many, many headstrong arguments that have gone through. So I think definitely with the communication-wise moving forwards, we're going to be a lot better. But I do want to bring Kyle on, because there is a certain point that I think you guys as community members do need to be aware of. And, I think Kyle will explain that a little bit to you a bit more. And I'll find you guys a couple of links that I'll post out in the Discord in a couple of minutes. But a few of the problems that Thailand has encountered has been quite a few imports. Now, even though imports are illegal in Thailand, the market's kind of been flooded quite a bit by America and Canadian imports. Kyle will explain to you guys a bit more the name of it and the specifics of it. I'm not too sure what they are. GRC or something like that. I probably got it wrong. But it's some of the cannabis that's illegal in the States, but has sadly flooded the markets here in Thailand. But the problem is that's pushed the price down quite a bit. So we've had quite a few long discussions with Simon, and that's another reason why we're going to be having our hands on the actual sale orders that he's put. But when we first initially did the white paper and we first initially did the calculations, cannabis was floating at about 450, 500,000 Thai baht a gram, and we divided that by 2 for a safety net. So the reason why we divided that by 2 was we always knew that there was going to be a little bit of market saturation and that the prices were going to come down. And so we thought that at 200,000 more or less that we had quite a nice buffer, which was going to kind of like be a bit of a surprise for the NFT holders, if we could get more for the cannabis than what was expected. Kyle, do you want to maybe jump on and just give a quick idea of what the actual market values are at the moment, and what you give the name of that cannabis? I'm sorry, mate, you're the expert in this one. And just give a quick update on the market.
So obviously in the last, I'll say 6 months, there's obviously been a big drop in what dispensaries and what dispensaries are buying the weed at wholesale prices. So to give you an idea, about 6-7 months ago, we were able to sell a kilogram for around anything from 260,000 Thai baht to 325,000 Thai baht a kilogram. And obviously, with there being no regulations and no proper laws put in place when it was decriminalized, we had a massive influx of import weed that was brought in. Obviously, during the black market, when it was still illegal, imports were still available. You could still get them. But then obviously, once everything kind of got relaxed and there was a huge opportunity, these imports were being brought in by hundreds of kilograms at a time. And a lot of the stuff coming through is the stuff that's not, it's banned from the US and North America, Canada and all of that. It's all that weed that's, full of PGR, which is your plant growth regulators. It just pretty much it pumps your yields up, and it just takes away any sort of health benefits the weed has. And that's an unfortunate situation here at the moment. And also there are a lot of farmers out there, because at the moment, a lot of the power lies with the dispensaries. So it's kind of it's encouraged a crazy price war. So a lot of the farms are selling theirs at hardly any profit, and it keeps on. Those type of farms don't mind selling a gram at 80 baht a gram, 100 baht a gram, and where it should be going for 200, 220, where it should be right about now, where it should have been. But yeah, those are two big factors depicting what's happening within the Thai cannabis market at the moment. So the two things are the price war and the dispensaries holding a lot of the power, and also the mass amount of illegal imports coming in. And I'll give you an idea. You can pick up a kg of stomped on California weed for about 80 to 90,000 a kilogram. So yeah, that's where we're at to the market at the moment.
Now, basically, what this is being said here, guys, is it's just like, obviously, with Fox Farms, with our contract, it is a fair market value with the price. So it's just to give you guys a little bit of a heads up on that one. Every sale that's made by Fox Farms, we will have the receipt of it. We will know exactly the price of it. But obviously, Simon's still very confident that he's going to be able to sell the cannabis between 160 and 190, 200,000 baht a gram, obviously depending on the strain. But, at the moment, obviously, if the strain, if Simon can only sell it at 190,000 or 180,000, he won't be able to pay us 200,000 baht a gram, because, he'll just end up going out of business, which won't help us, the NFT holders. So it's just something we wanted to point out to you guys. We're not there yet, but it's just something that I want you guys to keep in the back of your minds. We will, of course, release all that information. We will release the reports from our side, exactly how much, what got sold for. And just to give you guys a bit of a heads up, we don't want to have any more surprises. We don't want to have any more ideas that, that we're not being transparent. We're trying to be as transparent as possible. I know Simon is working very hard with Kyle at the moment to open up their own dispensaries, which will get rid of this problem a little bit. But, I just want you guys to know the situation where we're sitting right now. But again, that being said, guys, this is a real business. A few people have come to visit the factory. The factory's there. It does exist. It is going to keep on turning over. It is going to keep on yielding, rewards to the NFT holders. But at this moment in time, we have to just have a look to see where the market's going and try to adjust with it.
Yeah. Just on that, what you said, Super Silver obviously mentioned it as well. I think you mentioned 200,000 per gram. Yeah, that's 200,000 per kilo. Yeah, not a gram. I wish.
Yeah. Sorry, Silver. Yeah, of course. 200,000 per kilo. Yeah, 200 baht a gram.
Yeah, and I just wanted to, on some of the points you've said in the past about everything that's gone on, and again, like you say, we know some of the issues we've had over the last few months, and as I say, I don't want to blow our own trumpet, but I think with the help of the community and everything else, we've learned a lot, as you said, from the NFT community. Having all the people looking over your shoulder while you're running a business is not the easiest thing to do, but they're a great community, and at the end of the day, the NFT project we've always believed in. That's obviously why we all joined forces, and I think to go from zero 6 months ago or 7 months ago to where we are now has been a great accomplishment for everybody. And everybody's been along for the ride. I think, the facility's up and running. People can see what we've built. And, when people come and visit us, they're obviously impressed with, the speed of which it has actually been constructed and where it is now. So, and that's with obviously the help of the community and everything else. So it's been an interesting ride so far, and I think it's only going to get better. So, we do appreciate everybody for sure.
Daddy asked a very important question that I left for last. He was asking when can he come over for a free sample?
Anytime now. So yes, we've had some visitors to the farm. We've obviously got product there now. So if people are coming by, obviously drop by or let us know well in advance. But we've got the lounge there. We've got some product. So we want people to try it for sure. So yeah, and as you said, over the next, as long as the Thailand goes the way we want over the next year or so, then, you know, as we start getting our own dispensaries, and also some of our customers are opening their own dispensaries, and obviously we're getting into some of those. So hopefully there'll be more and more of our product out there. But yeah, definitely have to come and try some of the samples.
That's awesome. Simon, I missed a question earlier, sorry. Do you have an idea, an estimate, a guesstimate? I know you and me, we spoke about this a little bit earlier today, but do you just have a guesstimate of what the current yield is for the Kryptonite batch?
I mean, we're just waiting for this last one to be cut down so we can weigh all the plants. But, you know, it's not going to be far off the others, but I mean, I think it's going to be more, you know, slightly better than the last one of 8 kilos. So I think it's going to be up towards the 9-10 for sure. I mean, the plants are a lot bigger. But as I say, I don't want to, I know how do you say, how the community is.
So you know how the community is. If you say it's 9.5 and it's 9.4, there's trouble. I understand.
Exactly. So I don't want to throw numbers out and then, you know, later on, we were out on it. So, I mean, we want to collect all the data, get it in, and then we'll know for sure. And, you know, I appreciate, you know, and again, one of the things I think you mentioned earlier about the information, you know, we know that when we share images, when we share things, every little detail is picked up on. So, you know, we do want to make sure we get the right images out there, the right look and everything else, because, you know, going forward, we want to build our brand, obviously get our name out there. So it's really crucial how it's presented. But yeah, we'll obviously improve on that as well.
Are there any more questions, or does anyone want to come up and speak to Simon directly? You're more than welcome to. You know, if you want to come up and speak, just raise your hand. Otherwise, type another question in the chat box. But I mean, if there's nothing else, you know, then we'll probably call it a night here, guys. I mean, it's 9 p.m. here. Tomorrow, you guys will have a surprise. You'll have, like I said, Ben is down here in Bangkok at the moment. So he'll be joining Kyle for his video tomorrow. Everyone who calls Kyle more handsome than Ben, I'll give you guys $10. So I see Curious George is writing a message. Go on, Curious. I'll wait for you, mate. When will the recording be made available? Curious George, give me